everyone, and welcome to Conjure Crew. Today, our guest is Papa Hector. I met Papa Hector in New Orleans. What was we doing? It was the Hoodoo weekend with Hoodoo Simoise and Mama Star.
Exactly.
She's trying to come in. I don't really know the spiritual side of you, so do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name is Papa Hector, and I was initiated in a family lineage of the 21 divisions, which is the Dominican form of voodoo. And I was also initiated as a Houngan in Haiti in 2002, I believe, was my first initiation. And yeah, I've been doing this work since 1989. My grandmother was an espiritista. Most of my family practiced 21 divisions, espiritismo, sanse, and I worked for clients all around the globe. I also wrote this book called The 21 Divisions, Mysteries and Magic of Dominican Voodoo, which prior to this, there hasn't been any book written on this particular branch of practice or Dominican voodoo in the world.
Yeah, I was going to say I had actually never heard of it before. So I mean, is it a lot different than what we see, like, the people that go to Haiti? And did you initiate in Haiti, or how does that work? Or I mean, I know you can't tell me everything, but I don't know anything. So anything you tell me would be very interesting.
So the 21 divisions, Voodoo is actually broken down into two branches. There's what's known as the Cha-Cha lineage as well as the Ason lineage. The Ason lineage is what's most commonly connected with Haitian Voodoo, although the Cha-Cha lineage also exists in Haiti. 21 divisions is a Cha-Cha lineage of Voodoo that exists in the Dominican Republic and comes from that same root. So a lot of our practices are really similar, but yet different as well. We have different drum beats, some different music. A lot of our rituals are held in Spanish rather than Creole, but many of the spirits that we work with are the same, although we work with them differently.
Okay. Um. And so I'm trying to think here. You said that you're it was like you were raised this way, right? Your
Yes.
grandmother and stuff. So is it there's Shishi at her in here. Um
Hi.
so is it that how was I gonna say? Your lineage, your family, your blood family, right?
Exactly.
So how do you go about initiation? Is that a whole thing that you do as well? Or I'm
Yeah,
not
you
about what you do, but
yeah, I know. So yeah, in the 21 divisions, there's two lines of practices. One is initiatory apprentice based. The other one is mainly just apprentice based. So yeah, in our line, we do initiations, and one goes through the process of initiations, almost like a stepping ladder until one has reached the point that one is meant to reach wherever upon that ladder that you may be.
oh, okay. And so you're at the top of the ladder?
Yeah.
Okay.
How long does it take for you to get there?
It all depends on really you and what your calling is. So it depends on your calling as to what you're meant to do or what your spirits are meant to do, whether or not you're meant to work for other individuals or help other people using your spirits, or if your spiritual gifts are more so for you and your family.
Understood. But would that be distinguished for you if you were to go and I guess get a reading from the people who would initiate you? Or is this a choice that you make that you want to help others, or if you only want to help your family?
No, that's something that gets discovered via the process of initiation as well as readings as you develop. It's not really a choice that you have whether or not you can help others. More so, it's that some individuals are born with the capacity or the abilities to help others, just as some other individuals are not born with that level of capacity to work for others. So it's not really something that you choose. More so, it's something that the spirits reveal in time to those individuals who are meant to work for others. It's just like I often use the explanation like everyone can sing, but everyone's not going to be Beyonce. And no matter how much some individuals practice, they're never going to get to that level of a bit singing ability, right? So everyone has the capacity to connect with their spirits and with the divine, but not everybody is meant to take on the added responsibility of working for others and helping other people.
Interesting.
We do have a question here. What steps would someone take to get involved in 21 divisions? I mean,
So,
it has to be a
mhm.
calling, though, right? I mean,
Yeah, you would have to know that you have a calling, and at which point you would go to a brujo or a papaboko or mama mambo, which are our terms for the priests or priestesses, and they would have a consultation with the spirits, and then that would be revealed as to what's next for you, right? And then from there, that person would teach you, mentor you, eventually become your godparent. And if initiation is meant for you, then initiate you and continue along the development process with you.
And I know you said it's a calling, and I know for practitioners we can distinguish that calling, but just for everyone who maybe is interested and doesn't understand the difference, what would a calling look like if you're being called to 21 divisions?
Okay, so many people who have the calling end up having unexplained illnesses. They end up having tons of problems with other people, and in general have a problem with energy and being able to deal with lots of people's energy around them. A lot of them will have experiences, either dreams, visions, or even possession occur to them because of the calling. A lot of times they will also have various other basically weird mystical experiences that would lead them to know that they were called to be a practitioner. Most people know this from a young age that they are somehow different or unlike their peers, but it all depends on like what culture you grew up in. So like here in America, right, if you're just weird or different from your peers, then there oftentimes you're not in an environment that can reveal to you what's actually going on with you and then lead you down that path. Whereas if you're in a culture where they are aware of all of that, then basically you're kind of in a slightly better position for them. Usually at a young age, they're going to take you down to a priest, and the priest is going to be like, yeah, this is what's going on with this person, this is what's wrong with them, they have a calling, and so on and so forth.
That can be frightening, I imagine, for many people. They're like, are you sure that's a calling? Are you sure that's not an affliction? But I mean, so how often, and this is what I find intriguing, is I did go to, I forgot the name of it. Oh my God. I went to a ceremony and we had to dress in all white. And I was being outshined by these little kids. They were like, have you had your head read? Do you know who your angels are? Do you know where you belong? And I was like, I don't know any of that. So how often do you get little children that come and are called?
And if you're within the culture, it's actually quite common. We usually say that the calling comes from a very young age. And in fact, many people, like in the Dominican Republic, start at 7, 8, 9, 10 within their teenage years. In fact, I met one woman who it lives not too far from where I was initiated, that when she began, she was only 11 years old, and the calling was discovered, and they started to take her through the process. So, from the age of about 12, 13, she started calling up the spirits and doing readings for people. And she got really famous for giving away winning lottery numbers. So, if you've ever been to the islands, right? And to Dominican Republic or Haiti, playing the lotto is a really big thing because it's the way that people make some extra cash. So being able to give out lotto numbers is a well-known gift that a lot of spiritual workers in those islands develop.
I don't know. Maybe I need to go see her for these lottery numbers in the States.
Yeah.
Would you say people get the calling like 7, 8, 9? Would you initiate someone that young, or personally, you personally?
It depends on the strength of the calling, what's happening to the child, as well as, the parents. Now, if you have a child that has the calling and they're at the point of death, right? And the cure is initiation, then most definitely, right? And there are many people that have gone through that where basically the child is not absorbing any nutrients. They've been taken to doctors all around. They can't figure it out. There's nothing medically wrong with the child, or the child is going through possessions, right? And they're getting possessed, and if you've ever witnessed a possession, it's not always a pretty sight. It's not definitely something you want to be doing and falling out in school with a possession, right? And they very much mimic seizures in many ways, especially in the beginning when someone is just beginning to become possessed. Yet they have no medical basis or foundation. So we've initiated some children. Generally, I recommend people hold it off if it's not like really, really serious. Why? Because a child is still growing and they're still learning about themselves. And who knows, maybe later on down the line, this may not be what they really want to be doing. It
Right.
is a commitment, it is a responsibility. So I'd rather not put a child in a place of or obligation or obligate them to a responsibility when they yet to even know who they are.
Right.
I agree with that.
Give them a freedom of choice. So when they grow
Yeah,
up and then they're old
yeah,
enough to determine, but because even adults, going on 50 years old, sometimes we're like, maybe, and then switch it up too.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And this is definitely not the type of responsibility that you can stand up and walk away from.
Hmm.
There are negative repercussions to those who do. And so, generally, unless it's, like I said, life, death, really severe, I generally tell people, they can afford to wait. There's other rituals that can be done, oftentimes, to kind of appease the child's spirits and give them a chance to grow into who they are.
Right. Now, how would someone get in touch with you?
So you could look us up at help@mysticalwork.com is where you can email us. But I have website hectorsalva.com and a dozen other websites that I'm not going to mention because it's like over a dozen sites
Right.
and
Right.
that you could find me. If you look me up, if you look up Papa Hector and Voodoo, we're like kind of like Tide and laundry detergent. You can't miss us.
Let me put that up.
You not say Tide and laundry detergent. You're like, that's it. That's how we're found.
Nicole, we're not doing readings. Sorry. Sorry.
I agree with Elise. I know we had a live, you and I, we talked about your book, 21 Divisions. Do you want to tell us more about, I mean, for those who have not had a chance to get your book, do you want to talk to us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, so here's the book itself, right? You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, IndieBound, everywhere books are sold. And it's written and gives you the history as well as the foundation of our traditions. It gives you a background of how we came together. And then I actually go into the various of the major divisions and the major spirits that comprise our tradition, giving you a foundation of what that is and some idea of how to basically go ahead and start to get started.
Okay.
I know, Rob. I wanted a signed copy too, but I was happy just to get my book because I know it came out during it was hard to get books at a certain point in time. I was like, it's here. You know, I got my book.
You offer
So
copies?
Do we offer signed copies? Yeah, just shoot us a DM or an email and we'll get you a signed copy.
Okay.
um,
Then can they order it straight from hectorsalva.com?
I haven't set that up, but we can set it up. You know, that's the magic of the internet. Or, you know, and if you already have a copy, I'm more than happy if you like ship it over. You want me to sign the copy you already got and send me a padded envelope so I can ship it back. I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay,
oh,
awesome.
cool. So I'm trying to make sure like that we didn't miss any questions. All right. So here is the thing. I didn't get to take your cigar class. And I just wanted to know, like, just an overview. And I know we're interviewing for or talking about many things, but I want to know the significance of the cigar class.
So
Or the cigar.
the tobacco is a very sacred plant. It's been held sacred in many traditions and shamanic traditions around the world, including ours. So during the cigar class, what I do is I give you the method for which you can prepare cigars, as well as sacred invocations to the spirit of tobacco and how to use that tobacco to cast all kinds of magic, friends and enemies alike, you know, love, money, and health, everything that you need, because the cigar is a really powerful tool which invokes and has the capacity of drawing other spirits to work for you. And so we teach you how to use it as both an offering, but also how to work magic with it.
I like that. I like that. I've only seen it in certain spiritualities, and I never understood the significance of it completely because I have not worked with a cigar myself. But I was like, I need to take that class. So then I
Oh,
know
yeah.
the
It's
ins and
still
outs of it.
available.
Okay,
So,
good,
yeah.
What
good.
are
I am going to take that class.
classes that you're teaching?
So we teach classes on spiritual development. We also do healing classes as well as classes on all the various misterios or mysteries, Loa, spirits of the 21 divisions, as well as spirits of Espiritismo and Vodou. We teach how I'm going to shortly be starting mystic classes and classes for mystics, as well as brujeria classes, which brujeria is basically our word for witchcraft and magic. It's the Spanish equivalent to witchcraft because, you know, we can all use a little magic here and there.
Oh yeah. Um, and the classes are online right now. Well, I mean,
Yeah, so I teach classes online. I also do in person workshops and things like that. We know that COVID has all that on a pause, but the classes are usually, I have both classes we've already done, which are available now for that are recorded, that you can grab a hand on and you have access forevermore. And then we also, every once in a while, I come out and make an announcement of like the next live class, which we'll do. And that always gets recorded and offered as well, and gives us a chance to do, you know, not just being taught live, but then we have like a Q&A live in order to go over any questions or issues or anything of that nature.
okay, cool.
Nice. So what are you up to these days? I know you have the book. I know you're teaching classes. Is there anything new that you've been working on?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a secret is that within this next year or so, a second book will be coming out on Puerto Rican Espiritismo, which is the second main practice of my family. So that's coming out soon. I just got back from Haiti from doing ceremonies. I've still been traveling around and doing healings and spiritual work. We hold ceremonies quite regularly, as well as initiations and working for people magically and mystically.
Nice. So you've still been traveling, even throughout everything. You're still going to do travel.
Of course. Only God to fear. If
That's
God
true.
says it's time to take you out, he'll take you out. Right? There's been children that have gotten
True.
taken out, unfortunately, through the COVID, and there's been elder people that have been taken out through the COVID, and there's been elder people who have survived, right? So it's all about taking proper precautions, right? And if you didn't know how to wash your hands prior to the COVID, there were bigger issues at play which needed to be addressed anyway. And when I was first started traveling in the beginning of the COVID, one of the safest places to be was the airport. I literally got on a plane, right, to the Dominican Republic with only 6 other people. And then I hopped on another plane and went to Colombia to do spiritual work. And there was only 11 people on the plane. The airports were like complete ghost towns and they were excessively being disinfected. So it was actually probably one of the safer places to be rather than the grocery store,
True
Right.
right?
that. Oh yeah.
Now, yeah, now everything is kind of going back into how it used to be. When I've been on the planes are packed, which makes absolutely no sense. They're telling you to social distance, yet they have you guys squished up like sardines, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so social distancing is all about, what's convenient for those in power, as well as many other things, right? Everyone is getting surprised when we have like a spike when all of a sudden everything opens again. Well, the secret is that the only reason numbers went down was because no one was going anywhere.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Every
Yep.
time we open, there's going to be a spike, right?
Yeah.
And um, so that a lot of people have asked me about the COVID vaccine. All I will say about the COVID vaccine is basically I'm not doing it, right? They can let a few more 100,000 guinea pigs go first,
Right.
but it
I
won't be me.
Well, I
Okay.
think I think the tough part is some people don't have choices.
Well, if I have to take it in order to do something else, then apparently I might not have to do that other thing that badly, right? Because last time I checked, the only thing required of anyone is death, and I don't need a vaccine for that.
Right.
Oh my God. No. No, I mean, well, some people I know, like a lot of my friends, because they're frontline workers working like with children and things, they're making them take it if they want to keep their jobs.
I
Wow.
kind I get it on one
Yeah.
hand. On the other hand, what I've always said is basically if people kind of like stuck together and said like no, we're not doing something, they would be SOL and they would have to accept you without the vaccine.
They should. Yeah. I don't think it should be a forced thing for sure.
I just
I
don't
don't
like
know.
the fact that it was rushed.
Yeah.
It takes years to be FDA approved, and it has not been years. So they've not done all the research, they've not done all the testing, and I'm like you. The other people can be the guinea pigs. Eventually, I might get it, but not for at least 2 years because it takes 2 years before anything is FDA approved. Minimum.
Well, but then not only that, no one knows the long-term effects yet. So that's the
No.
other part. That's
Yeah,
the
it
other
took
part.
them like over 50 years to create the last vaccine that people are taking. And somehow this vaccine came out as a miracle to an illness that they know very little about. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. They
No.
can go ahead and they can keep that. They can take my vaccine and shove it into themselves. Best of luck. You know,
Yeah.
um,
I
we
agree with
have a joke on the island is that, you know, in other places they get COVID. However, we only get a slight cough.
you. Well, you were saying earlier too about, there that when he's ready to take you out, he'll take you out. I believe that
Hmm.
he knew the moment you were going to be born and the moment you're going to die. And taking that, I'm not pushing it. Why push your luck? You know?
Exactly.
It's a finicky situation anyway because it doesn't guarantee you protection. I think that's the other part. I'm like, what? You want me to take something that's not even guaranteeing me protection from what I'm supposed to be taking it for?
Yeah, here, take this rat poison. Does it taste like cinnamon to you?
Nah, I think I'm good.
No.
Exactly. And at this point, it's like take the vaccine, but you still have to wear a mask everywhere. That, by the way, doesn't actually work. And you still have to social distance. So, what is the benefit of the vaccine? I've yet to see.
Yeah.
However, I do know some individuals who have had relatives who have had negative effects, not being able to talk anymore due to the vaccine.
Yeah.
So that's proven. Your vaccine is not. And so basically, yeah, you could keep it.
Alyssa has a question. She wanted to piggyback when you were speaking on initiations and about the dreams. So, do dreams sometimes consist of dreams of ceremony?
They do. There are times where people will even have dreams of parts of the initiatory ceremonies, which usually indicates a really strong call and a really strong need to get on the path ASAP.
Mm, that's nice. I mean, at least I mean, that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty straightforward. I'm trying to make sure we don't have any other questions that I'm missing. I don't think I did. Did I miss any questions, Lynna? I don't think I did.
I don't think so.
Someone wanted to know where you located, but I think someone answered that you're in St. Lazarus.
No, I think they were referring to Babalua. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm located.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm located in Jersey.
They should be able to.
I like the whole head movement with that too, like Jersey. Don't play.
That's how we
In
do in
Jersey.
Jersey.
I didn't know you were in Jersey. For some reason, I definitely thought you were somewhere else, but I didn't expect Jersey. I did not know
Yeah,
you were that close to me when I was there.
yeah. We're always around. We're like the air, right? You can feel us, you just can't see us.
So we have a new book coming out, and you've been traveling and doing ceremonies. So you have not taken a break.
No, life is a break, right? So the thing about it is, as mystics, most people who are mystics or spiritually inclined, like our whole life has been basically a preparation for isolation. We just don't tend to constantly be up under people anyway. Most mystics and spiritualists that I know don't want to be surrounded by people. We prefer really small groups of people. We like being alone, although it may sound crazy to some other individuals. We actually enjoy our own company. So, when I have to go and work with people and do something, I really actually get to enjoy them. And yeah, I'm not too shook.
Yeah.
I think that is a rarity. I think a lot of people, they're like, how could you be by yourself all the time? But I do. I think it's like, in a way, as mystics, sometimes because we feel the energy, it's just a lot to take on when you're in a group of people. And you don't really want all that energy all the time in your face. But I mean, we're also not truly ever alone.
We love
Exactly.
ourselves. So we're perfectly happy with our own company. We don't need to
Yeah.
seek outside validation. So, or that's the way I am. I could care less for other. I don't like people, but I mean,
I
I
can
don't
entertain
I like
myself quite a bit.
people. I just, you know, I'm
I
good.
don't know. I've entertained myself quite a bit. I've gone to dinner by myself. I've gone to movies by myself. But I also feel like if you're always waiting for people, you never get anything done.
Oh no,
So,
no. And it's unfortunate, but generally speaking, many people don't have a lot of other people's best interests at heart, you
mhm,
know. Um, and as times progress, it seems like selfishness and being self centered is being put on a pedestal. So, I've just seen a lot of hard things due to uh, good people. And therefore, I prefer to keep the company of myself. I'm neither good nor bad. I cancel it out. I'm a zero.
mm, I like that. So, um, Elissa, sorry, wants to know the name of your group.
So we have two groups on Facebook. One is called Mystic Mavericks, and it's spelled that way, Mystic Mavericks. Mystic Mavericks is for mystics, for those that are looking to develop and grow on the mystical path. And then we also have Sanse, Espiritismo y la 21 División, where I specifically spend time talking about Sanse, 21 divisions, and Espiritismo. Since our path of Sanse, Espiritismo, and the 21 divisions are mystical paths, that's why we created Mystic Mavericks, because a lot of people don't know or have yet to realize that our paths contain the secrets to be able to achieve enlightenment just as much as any other Eastern spirituality, right? Our paths also hold magic and brujeria, which is a lot of times part of what draws a large number of people into our traditions. But that's only one part of the equation. And so, yeah, we have these two groups to kind of like help people who are looking for either end of our work.
And so you have a TikTok and you have a podcast.
And Instagram.
Well, I know the Instagram because I follow the Insta.
Yeah, so I just went on TikTok the other day because all my kids have been like, Dad, you need to be on TikTok, TikTok. And my god kids have been like, Papa, get on TikTok. So now I have a TikTok, a Instagram, a Facebook, a YouTube, and a podcast, as well as the blog.
No
And
Twitter.
what is the name of your podcast?
The podcast is, I believe it's just Papa Hector. I try to keep it simple, you know. With all these technologies, we're just like, yeah, all these technologies, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. Though every time you turn around, it's like a new technology becomes available,
Mhm.
and like 90% of people forget about all the old ones. So like you just got to keep going and growing with the times. And I will keep growing and going with the times until, you know, I'm like too old for all of that.
Right. So no MySpace.
MySpace, I believe, doesn't exist anymore, but we did have a MySpace when it did exist.
Yeah, I used to be on MySpace. AOL too. AOL's gone now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone. You know, basically, like each new technology, someone has me who wants me to sign up for something else called Clubhouse. So, like, each new technology almost makes the old one slowly become obsolete.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And so, it's difficult for us who are mystics because we're just like, really, to tell you the truth, I'm often like, I don't really have that much to say. But But luckily, on the good hand is I am Puerto Rican and Dominican, and so we don't shut up. So it kind of balances itself out, and I usually can find something for me to say.
I find it overwhelming. I'm like, wait, I still have to get a YouTube, and I find myself, I'm like, I'm procrastinating because I don't know. It's just, it just overwhelms me. I'm like, I'm gonna be on everything, and then I have to keep up with everything. So
It's a lot.
It is really. It's really it can be overwhelming. It can be a lot, which is why I'm just trying to like take one thing on one platform and send it over to the next, send it over to the next, send it over to the next, just because it does become kind of like way too much.
What do you feel the best way to bond with your spirits or build a relationship with them? What do you feel is the best way to do that?
The best way to bond with your spirits is service, right? Service of the spirits, but also service of other people, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean magical service. It means being a good person. I know it's something that is rare to find these days, but good has always been rare, right? And also to focus on the connection with God and the divine. Many people kind of get lost or trapped in the web of spirits and kind of forget that divine connection. And in our tradition, without the divine, without God, there is no spirits, and therefore the spirits are neither here nor there without God. And really focusing in on developing that connection with God and the divine, as well as developing yourself and your spiritual gifts and your spiritual power, which is different, which very few people realize is different from practicing magic, and it's different from serving the spirits. The development of yourself is connected and yet separate.
Do you want to go further into that? I mean, I think most of us understand, but I didn't know if you wanted to break that down a little bit more too for those who may not. If not, that's okay.
The development of yourself and your spiritual capacities really has to do with the development of all the parts which compose a human being. A lot of people have a misunderstanding in thinking what many modern spiritualities have taught, that your mind is everything, right? But your mind is not everything. Your mind is but a machine. And so there ends up becoming a lot of inconsistency in spiritualities because spiritual techniques are being pulled out of the ancient ways and washed away to be made comfortable for people. So a lot of people go and say, well, just think positive, just think positive. Your mind doesn't control the world. There's lots of people who have been thinking about $1 million for a long time and yet do not have any money.
Well, you got to put action.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, what I'm saying is something slightly different, is that thinking positive still requires thinking. And if you're thinking, then you can't be open to truth.
So would you say it would just be allowing your mind to be fluid along that line, or?
It's to go beyond your mind. There is something beyond the mind, but you have to go beyond it. And many people are trapped into believing that they are what they think they are, and that what their mind thinks is reality. Your mind does not perceive reality. What it actually perceives is a bunch of filters that have been placed in it, which makes your judgment of reality.
Well, we only use it, what, 5 or 10% of our brain anyway? We don't even really use the whole thing. So is that like opening up more?
Well, when you go beyond the mind, more of the mind will become open and more of it will become fluid, as what you said. However, when you go beyond the mind, you're in a space of non thinking, right? So if you've ever been in a space of non thinking, then you will realize that there's beauty in the whole entire globe exactly as it is.
That I did have a conversation with someone because they say by society, because our mind usually works on societal standards, what we're raised to believe is right and wrong. And as you put away the perception of right and wrong, then you're able to see a little bit more outside the box. And then you start shedding other things because a lot of what we see is what's programmed into us according to other people's perspectives.
That's true. And however, the problem with many modern techniques and spiritualities is that it tries to have you fight your mind with your mind. When you fight your mind with your mind, only your mind wins.
Yeah, that makes sense. When do you, okay, we have a question. Did you want me to read it or did you want to read it, Lynna? I'm not trying to take it.
Go ahead. Can you see the comments?
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Here, I can put it
okay.
up and you can answer it.
Yeah. So when do I feel it's necessary for one to get spell work? And do I believe magic should be used for everything or that some requires actual work versus ritualistic work? Magic and spell work is like Tylenol, right? It's something that's to be taken in our work for emergencies. It's something that there are times when, hey, the car breaks down and you need to bubble gum tape it together. However, most things require real deep spiritual work, which is not magical work, in order to create true change. Magic only gives you a break or an interruption in the common pattern. However, if the true spiritual work isn't done behind it, then you will end up back in the same boat.
So it's like a band-aid.
Pretty much. And it can be used like if you just have a headache, right? You can just take the Tylenol. But a lot of times headaches and such things are symptoms of things that are way deeper.
Right. Go ahead.
Me?
Anybody?
Like, I didn't have anything. I was just, my screen was doing something weird. I was like, oh no.
I have something. You were talking about the kids and them being young. Now you have small children, so I'm sure they grew up with it too in the house and know what's going on. Would you consider initiating them? Have they? Well, I mean, have they gotten to that point, or do they just do what they do?
So I do. I have 4 girls, and they're all very awesome and smart. And
They're beautiful girls.
my eldest child did get initiated, but she got initiated when she was about 19,
Okay.
and it was her choice. It was she recognized her own gifts and abilities. We had all recognized it as well, but what it was when she was ready to take that commitment. And one of my younger children has also had ceremony done again because of their own choice. And though all of them have no problem whatsoever going to the altar, lighting a candle, talking to the spirits when something's going on for them.
Right.
That's good. I think it must be nice to grow up in a spiritual household. I'm always intrigued by that as I grew up in a Christian household. And so there was, to me, a lot of fear with it. You know, if you don't do this, and this is what happens. So I find it very interesting when people their children grow up in different households. So, I mean, I'm just sorry, I sidetracked. I find that intriguing because I wonder if it's the same thing. Like, you know, this is our spirituality, this is what we grew up with, and this is kind of the path that you have to move. And I always find that it's opposite. So I like that.
No, I've always wanted my children to be free-minded and be themselves. So again, going back to like the social programming, I wasn't going to program my children to my particular spiritual path.
Mm,
They just
that's
saw it,
wise.
and that's what they integrated themselves.
And they had their own experiences, right?
Mhm.
And I never taught my children any doctrines or any dogmas. I didn't teach them any ideologies. So I refused to do all of that. And I didn't teach them doctrines, dogmas, ideologies. Rather, I taught them how to be good individuals, mainly through my own character, how to be an individual who is not selfish, someone who cares about themselves as well as other people, someone who is not focused on solely that which is material, as valuing people based on what they have. And when you teach children basically to be a good person, they figure out many things on their own.
Mm, this is true. This is very true. So I know you're constantly teaching, and I know that Lynna asked about the new classes that are coming up or what you're teaching now. Are you going to be bringing out more new classes?
I'm always bringing out more new classes. Like you said, I'm constantly teaching. There are new classes that will be coming up. I am actually starting a group of individuals uh, who want to be more and more learning the truth and learning spiritual truths and mystic truths that will be starting towards the end of this month.
Nice. And do we go to Hector Salva to sign up for that if that's the
Yeah,
case?
there
Or
will be a link.
nice. Good. So is there anything that we forgot to ask you? I'm like, is there something I forgot to ask? I feel like there's always something I'm missing when it comes to you. Because last time when we like departed, I was like, oh, I forgot to ask this. It never fails. I'm like, oh, I meant to ask him ask. So I'm trying to see, pulling it all out. For some reason, I thought you had a son, but you have 4 girls.
Five
Mhm.
altogether. He's got a house full of women. Well, no,
Oh
his
my!
wife makes number 5.
I'm like, oh my! How's that working out?
It works out really awesome. I love it. I have no problem with it. I also grew up in a house that was mainly like I had my grandfather there and some of my uncles around and stuff. But my grandmother was head honcho as well as like my great aunts. And it was constantly filled with women. So it works out great. I love all of their characters. Um, Women are generally a bit, I hate to say this for all you dudes, they tend to be a little bit more well rounded and interesting than many men. So, like, it works out really good. You get to see lots of people with lots of different opinions and, who basically haven't been programmed to be like, right? Like they have no problem expressing themselves, and I enjoy that really much. Yeah, so it works out really well. All of them, we love each other to death, and they treat me really well because I'm the only guy in the house. So that makes my life even better. And yeah, I love living how we live, like in a household of all women. It works, and one of my daughters, her boyfriend, has a son, so he comes around. So then I get some time to have like a grandson thing, but he can then go off with them when I'm tired. So it works out wonderful.
Yeah.
You're like
Yeah,
everybody else, like, yeah, we get them for a little bit and now they get to go.
exactly, exactly.
So what is your favorite part of your spirituality, if there is one?
My favorite part, I would say there's two parts. It's my first favorite part would be seeing the transformation for people. I love witnessing people say, or even like the ahas, where they're like, oh shit, yeah, that makes so much sense. And like a transformation that occurs because of that aha. But also seeing like the healings and the transformations. We had someone who called me one day. I call it my 444 tour because they called me at 4:44 a.m. because their 4-year-old son had a seizure and fallen into a coma. And the doctors wanted to pull the kid off the machine. And that's because it was in another country where basically they're not going to give you a lot of time on the machine. So they called me up, and by 12:44 that day, the child had woken up and was back to life, and he's doing awesome. The child is now 7, right? And that's one of the most beautiful things to see is when people have been suffering for a long time, and that suffering can be transformed and alleviated. And people who have thought like they would never find love, or people who thought like they were going to be stuck in the hood forever, be able to get out of the hood. I come from the hood, so like I know that people can do it. So that would be part A. And then part B is the mystical experience. Basically, having the experiences, the unities with God and the spirits, where basically I am no longer and it's just them going.
So as a mystic, as a spiritualist, what has been the most difficult thing up to date that you've had to face or handle?
Um, okay, as of today, right, currently, currently, I would say my most difficult thing that I deal with currently is wrapping my mind around how people are these days and how people carry themselves. But in the past, I have been known to live in cemeteries because I was homeless. I have known to basically have to do everything under the sun in order to survive. And to me, though, that's what made me who I am. It's what created the growth, right? No mud, no lotus, right? No roots, no fruit. And now it's one of the things that I think I love the most. So is all the difficulties that I faced, whether it was like being homeless or having guns in my face, or dropping down on the floor because there's gunshots going through the doors and shit like that. That I would say has basically been some of the most transformative things and made me who I am and allowed me to understand other people. So I value it very highly and I wouldn't give it up.
No, that's definitely, I would have to say that a lot of times when we think the difficulties that we go through are the end of the world, or like, why do we have to go through? We have a why me attitude. It can be a little frustrating when we're in the moment sometimes, in many cases, but when we're out of that moment and we've gained the strength from going through what we've gone through, then it's like, I wouldn't be where I am without this event. And that's true.
Definitely.
That is very true. I mean, yeah, it's easy to fall into the woe is me perspective of life, but no, that is absolutely a great way to look at it, for sure.
I've been blessed in that I never had the woe is me perspective. Every time something would happen, I would think like, oh, this shit is great. What an opportunity. Right. And it was like I tell people, I'm just fucked up enough to be able to see that as an opportunity, right? So when I was homeless, I was like, well, this is an opportunity for me to learn how to bind with death. And so I went and lived in the cemetery. And so on and so forth. And it really, like my mother would say, you're like a cat with 9 lives. Like basically, like you just keep landing on your feet. And I've really appreciated those opportunities.
Yeah, because every choice you make in your life leads you to exactly to where you are.
Absolutely. And the way I was raised was basically God, by giving you life, already gave you everything that you're owed. Be grateful for what's been given to you, life. Anything that happens to you was a gift being given to you. So don't be an ingrate. And so basically, I was taught that life itself is the gift, right? So whatever happens in life is neither here nor there, nor does it mean anything about you per se, you as an individual, right? Everyone goes through some shit, and it doesn't mean anything about you. God gave you life, and if you have life, anything is possible. Anything is available to you. And just be constantly grateful for that opportunity to be able to live. I usually tell people, if you really sat and think, there could have been millions of other people that could have possibly been born instead of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Right? But you were chosen and you were given this opportunity. And even the spirits, they come and possess us. And while they're possessing us, part of the reason that they do so is so that they can enjoy certain things that we get to enjoy in life, like dancing, smoking, drinking, eating, etc. Right? So life is not great if it doesn't have a little bit of salt to season it.
Also
Yeah.
true.
And
Also
we
very true.
provide that salt based on the different things that we do in our life.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any plans to travel now or coming up soon? I know, the planes are more full now.
Yeah, so I just got back earlier last week from Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no current plans to travel just because basically we just got back. I just kind of want to settle in at home for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And also generally I'm not a very planned individual,
Oh,
right? I tend to kind of live life as it comes. And yeah, enjoy part of enjoying the journey is not knowing what's coming. So being open to whatever may come. If the opportunity or the situation presents itself for me to travel, I will be traveling. I'm
okay.
not going to stop myself from living life. Life is very short, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's I say this to people all the time, is like you only have 30,000 days, which is nothing in a 70-year lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
30,000 is kind of like nothing. People spend 30,000 quickly within the course of a year or two, you know? So there's no time to waste. Time is your money. It's way more valuable than money. And yeah, so I'm
That's true.
definitely the type of person, like someone once asked me, like, did I plan my life out to be this way? Well, not at all. Really, in order to plan, it requires a lot of thinking, which then requires you to sometimes be false or fake in order to achieve your plans, right? And I only have one commitment, and that commitment's really simple. It's basically I'm going to be me no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anybody wants to know when you're taking classes, all you guys need to go follow him because it could be like that. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a class tomorrow."
I generally try to give people a little bit longer than that. Yeah. I do make like slight plans, right? But I don't make no like huge overall plans. I do give people like a few weeks usually before we hold a class, but I'm not the type of person to have, I don't have a 5 year plan. I don't have a 2 year plan. I don't have a 10 year plan. Life will show me what it wants me to do.
Okay. They still need to go follow you though.
Oh, definitely. You need to go do that.
Yeah, for all that wisdom. I mean, you have so much wisdom
Yes.
and so much information.
You pop on all the time and drop little gems here and there, constantly.
It's
Well,
true.
if more people know, then more people can live a happier life. And if you're happier, then it makes me being happier a lot easier,
Hmm.
right? So the more happy people there are, the less suffering there is all around you, the easier it is for you to be happy as well, right? And happy people want you to be happy.
That is true. That is very true.
Very
So,
true.
what words of wisdom besides just be happy do you have for us? Like, if you had to leave us with anything.
Mhm. What I would leave you with is you were placed here for something way bigger than people to like you. You were placed here for something way bigger than cars and houses that in 50 years someone else will own.
Yeah,
The car will not remember you. The house will not remember you, nor will they care, right?
that's
At one
true.
time, there was a king and he lived in the palace and he thought that was his palace and he bust his butt protecting and fighting over that palace and warring over that palace and killed so many thousands of people in order to keep it. Then the king grew old and died, and it was his son's palace. And the palace did not care about the previous king, right? Your cars, your houses, your jobs, all of that is not secure. Look for that which is the truth, the only thing that is real, and everything else will fall itself into place.
That is very true.
Yeah, it is.
That is very true. I'm like, that gave me a pause because I was just thinking about that earlier today. Just thinking about that. I got a book on the minimalist, and it's about people who like there's a woman who lives or a guy who lives with he only has 51 items to his name. 51 items.
Oh, is that
And
Joshua?
no, it's not Joshua. I can't remember the name of the guy, but basically he was saying, the less you have, the happier you are because when you have too much, then you're tied to these things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. We think about all the stuff that we have all the time, and you see people who have so much and yet they're still unhappy, and you would think they would be happy because they had everything. And then you see people who have so little and they're very happy.
We say, well, I say, everything that you own owns you.
That's exactly what they said. Everything you own actually owns you.
Yeah. And like you said, lots of people, right, are way happier when they have way less, right?
Mhm.
Because then you can finally own something that's way more important than anything else, which is yourself. If you can own yourself, if you have yourself, you could lose the world and it doesn't matter. That's why,
Yeah.
like I said, when I was homeless, I didn't care. I was like, wow, an opportunity. Yay. Right? Because I had myself. Right?
Yeah.
And this is why you find people like, I always mention this guy just because he's really famous, is like Anthony Bourdain, killed himself, committed suicide. He was like some famous chef dude,
Yeah.
right? And he
Mhm.
had everything. He was like constantly in brand new hotels and living the lavish lifestyle. And a lot of other famous people either commit suicide or slow suicide. Basically, slow suicide is like killing themselves with drugs and alcohol and living lifestyles that really are harmful to them. Why? Because they've achieved everything the world was told them they would need to have in order to achieve happiness, and realize that they were still unhappy. So,
Mhm.
you could have everything and not be happy, and have nothing and be totally happy, be flying off the stars, right? And
Mhm.
I find it all the time. I do constantly and regularly go back to like DR and Haiti and these countries where people have way less than they have here in the US. And yet every day there people are laughing and smiling and hey, good morning, blah blah blah. And here, you got people like, uh, and they're like angry and bitter and so upset, and like they have everything under the sun, right? And so many people are willing to sacrifice themselves for
Mhm.
the car and the house and the good job. And every day they go to work, they're like, oh, I hate my job. And so they're suffering like 10 hours a day, right? Because they're willing to sell themselves short, which is why I often say to people, like, it's kind of the reason I often have more respect for prostitutes. Because at least they sell themselves and know that they're selling themselves. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I sell myself and I know it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas other people sell themselves short in relationships that don't work, friendships that don't work, with family connections that are non-supportive and that don't work, you know, in jobs that they hate, or waiting for a pension that turn around and disappear on them. All these various types of things, they're willing to sell themselves short.
Yeah, the more you have, say you have more stuff, so then you have to get a bigger house, so then you have to work more to pay for this house. And it's just on and on and on. And so it controls you. You don't control it. You're working for your stuff.
And a lot of people, they feel like it never stops. Once you have, it seems like the more you have, the more you want. And so
Absolutely.
you're always wanting, never
Absolutely.
content.
You need to be happy with yourself.
In
Um,
fact, earlier this year, I started a process. You might want to look this up. It's called death cleaning,
I saw
right?
that.
And so
Hmm.
death cleaning says, like, when you die, 99% of your stuff is going to get thrown in the trash, right? You're going to actually leave it on a burden to your children and family. They're just going to pack up all your stuff and it's going to go in the trash. So death cleaning is about like keeping that which is really just really sacred to you and really holds a lot of meaning and importance to you now, and getting rid of everything else. And just the space in your own house that you free up from doing it gives you a certain sense of like just a certain level of relaxedness from not having all these little things taking up your energy.
Hmm. That's true. I saw that video of death cleaning and I was like, oh my God. I felt like when I was moving, I was death cleaning. I gave away so much stuff and I was like, I need more boxes. I can't give away all my things. And a lot of the things I shipped broke. And I realized I was like, okay, that really pisses me off. I'm upset. But then it's kind of just things, right?
Absolutely.
And what I noticed was, just as you said, like when people pass, it's true, their families come in and they just pack up the stuff, they donate it. It doesn't
Garbage.
matter. When
Yeah.
my grandma passed, there was like hundreds of pairs of shoes that got donated to Goodwill, and hats and clothing and all of that. And I was thinking, she had all this stuff. You can't wear it all at the same time, of course, because you have worn it all within your lifetime, possibly. But she was still kind of crotchety. She was hilarious, but she was grumpy as hell. But she had some of the most awesome shoes, great outfits, all of it. But she was grumpy, and I was sitting there thinking, like, she had all this stuff, but obviously there was something that was missing because she was still unhappy. And you can't fill that spot with stuff.
Right. And chaos is attracted to clutter.
It is. That is for sure.
So.
That is true.
Well, I'm going to thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and, sorry, I have to cut it off because I have to start getting ready for the puppet class. But thank you. You've shared so much, and I mean, I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody here has learned a lot. A lot of people asking questions, and it's great. You're great. Thank you so much.
You're always a
thank
great
you
person to
guys for
talk to.
Thank you guys for having me.
As a person, I never even really knew you as a spiritual person. It was just like, oh, I love Hector. He's my friend. So it's good to see this side of you as well, because that's a side I didn't know.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you guys for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for being on, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.